Okay, so I hope your bellies are full. We've taken care of you physically. Now we want to enrich you mentally. And for tonight, I'm curious, who has seen the flyer for this event?
Flyer?
Yeah, the flyer. Okay. Did you notice the poster outside? Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. Through the website, did anybody come here through the website? Through social media? Yeah, okay. So we have, as I said, a guest speaker from America. Her name is Amanda Anguish. She's here with her husband, and she has experience in anxiety and depression programs. She has worked with young people at risk, like at-risk youth, and even with people struggling with addictions. So she works in California at Beautiful Minds, and now she took the time to come here and share with us a little bit about anxiety and depression. This is not just a workshop for people who have anxiety or depression, but it's also about how to deal with your emotions. So without further ado, I want to welcome Amanda Anguish, and hopefully this will help us and to learn more about anxiety and depression. So let's give a hand of applause, shall we?
I always think it's funny when you applause for somebody and you haven't even heard them say anything. So I could mess up a whole bunch and you've already given me an applause, so I feel really great. Before we start, I do want to make a little plug. I'm actually one of 4 hosts of a podcast. It's a little humble podcast. We have had quite a number of views, though. It's a mental health podcast. It's called the Brain People Podcast. I'm not in every episode, but we talk about some of the things I'm going to talk about tonight. We talk about other more specific things, too. Tonight is actually going to be a very general presentation, a very practical presentation. I'm a practical person, so I like things to be really practical and hands-on. And this isn't just for anxiety and depression. This could be for anything. So I'm glad he said you don't have to just have anxiety and depression for this to be for you. And if you notice I act a little silly or anything tonight, I am operating off of maybe 2 hours of sleep on a plane. So we got here today. So I am on adrenaline right now, and I'm hoping it'll carry on through the rest of the presentation. But I want to ask you a question. What is Belgium known for? Chocolate. Fries, frites, waffles, yes. Beer, okay. Yes. Is Heineken from here? No? Okay, that's the only beer I've seen since we got here. I haven't gone very far, but we did see that, so I didn't think so. What else?
High-rate suicide.
Oh, okay. We went dark all of a sudden, but yeah. No, I didn't know that one. I didn't know that. I think a lot of countries have high rates of that. In California, in the very beginning of COVID, we had more deaths from suicide than COVID. In the first, I think, March through November of 2020 we had. But I don't know what your rate of suicide is here. Anything else you guys are known for?
Forest, green area.
Okay, forest and green area.
Complexity of governance.
These are the ones that I thought of. I had beer on here, but I didn't really want to encourage that, so I took it off and I put the EU and NATO instead. But nobody said the last one. Oh, did somebody say that? I didn't hear it.
Because Antwerp is something like...
Only Antwerp, not all of Belgium and stuff. Okay, well, that was one of the things that I saw when I was looking up, what do you need to do while you're in Belgium? So this is these are the things that I looked up. I'm not going to drink any beer. I know too much of the research, so I won't do any of that. But this is where I'm from. Do you know what California is known for? I'm curious to hear what a bunch of people from Belgium think California is known for, though. Beaches, okay. Rich people? Oh, Bill Gates lives in Washington, not California. Silicon Valley. All the rich people are actually leaving California, by the way.
Sunny weather.
Sunny weather, okay.
And health network, Mental Health Network.
Okay, yeah.
Earthquakes? No.
Earthquakes, actually, that we just had one. I just read that we had an earthquake that was about an hour and a half from us while we were on our way here. So we didn't get to feel it. Fires, yes, we do have a lot of fires. These are the ones that I thought of.
Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah. Agriculture, most people don't realize that most of the produce from around the world comes from California. And most of the organic, California is the largest producer of organic produce as well. Yeah. So, and then the other one, the last one on here, anybody ever think about the gold rush?
Western and so on, no?
You know,
Alaska.
so this is the area that I am from, right about here. It's on the way, if you know anything about Tahoe, Tahoe's right there. All of this is like national forest area. The beach is here, the desert down here, but I live about here with my husband. And this area, this whole area right around here is called Gold Country. And it's known for the gold rush, where all the people from across the country came to pan and look for gold. Some people made a living. Some people, unfortunately, didn't make a lot out of it. Sometimes when you're promised certain things, you don't always get what you're promised. But there are people almost every single day, if I go down to the river, because we have some rivers around us, they go down to the river and they pan for gold. Yeah. I don't think most of them do it professionally. I think they do it as a hobby just to kill time. But a lot of people do that. Now, as I was thinking about these two places, one that I'm in now and one that I live in, I realized, and I tell a lot of my clients too when they come to see me, you know, when you're looking for gold or even picking out diamonds, do you just pick something up and go assume it's a diamond, or do you just pick it up and assume it's valuable or gold? No. You have to, especially when it comes to gold, people don't just go in, put their pan in the sand and then take it over to somebody to assess the value of it. They have to sift through it, right? And then some of that sand, they might let the sand out, and then there's maybe gold flecks or pieces, but it's only valuable when you find the gold. Did you know your brain works the same way? Every single human being has somewhere between 12,000 and 80,000 thoughts that go through their head in a given day. Did you know that? 12,000 and 80,000 thoughts that go through your head in a given day. Most of those thoughts are not true and helpful thoughts. But a lot of us, the louder the thought is, the more we think it, the more important we value it. Not realizing it would be like fool's gold, that's not real gold. It'd be like a diamond that's not worth anything because it maybe isn't even a diamond, it's cubic zirconium or something like that. I don't know if you have those here. But you actually have to look for the value in those things, and there are certain qualities. There's like 5 C's that you look for with a diamond. There's other things that you look for with gold. It's the same way with our thoughts. A lot of us are believing a lot of things that we think, and we don't realize this isn't actually something that I should value. So we should actually weigh each one of our thoughts, just like you would weigh gold, or just the same way you would value a diamond. You have to weigh it and look for certain value and quality to it. Some of us have a lot of thoughts that aren't pure, they're not good, they're not valuable, but we're still believing them anyway. And I want to show you how you can check first to see if your thoughts are good and change them if they're not good. Did you know that? That you can actually do that? Some of you are like, whoa, slow down. I didn't even know I had to do this with my thinking. A lot of us go to the gym to exercise and get our body in shape, but we don't realize that we also need to get our brains in shape too. So would you like me to teach you how to get your brain in shape? Yes. Have I made a sufficient case for this? Okay, who are my people that are passing out papers? I don't want to forget those, because I told you this was going to be very practical. We have some papers that are going to be handed out. One of them looks like this. If you look across here, you notice that not only do we have the first 5 letters of the alphabet, but those first 5 letters correspond to a different thing too. So the A stands for, what does it say under the A? Activating event. Okay, so each one of us has every single day, all day, something I'm going to call activating events, because the only reason we call it activating events is because it starts with an A and it makes it easier to remember. Every single one of us has activating events. Even though we have activating events all day, every day, we could also call those activating events triggers or stressors. You've probably heard those terms before, right? Have you heard of triggers and stressors? What do you usually think of when you think of the word trigger or stressor? Is it like a positive connotation? No, it's typically a negative connotation, right? Now, we actually do have positive things that are triggers or stressors. You have an example under here, the boss yells at me. That would be an example of an activating event or a trigger or a stressor. We're not going to talk about the positive ones today because most people don't have to worry about those ones. It's the difficult things or the unpleasant things that we experience in our life. Does everybody have a boss? Husbands, do you have a wife? No, I'm just kidding. We have all these activating events that happen all day, every day. You could also call them triggers or stressors. But we're gonna break these down into two categories. Most of us, we only think of our activating events, triggers, or stressors as the things outside of us, or in other words, external. So I want you to consider, is there a person in your life that is an activating event to you? Now, before you go, oh, I hate this person, I want you to think it's not just a person that you holistically dislike. It's something even that a person says or does that triggers something inside or activates something. So this could be somebody you love. It could be, I love my mom, but when she says this, you know, that could be your activating event. It could be, oh, you know, my boss does this all the time or says this or whatever the case may be. But you see the example I have up here is the boss yells at me. But we also have other things that can be activating events besides a person. So just keep that person in your mind. You know, we'll come back to that. But we also have circumstances. Those are also things outside of us. So things like the weather. Does everybody like the same weather? No, some people love the rain. My husband gets allergies. Does anybody else get allergies? He gets the worst allergies. I didn't know anybody could not like spring. I didn't know, it's so beautiful springtime. That's when the flowers come out. That's when the trees start putting out their little buds of leaves and everything. But my husband starts getting so sick. His eyes are watery and itchy, and he sounds like he's sick. Like really badly sick. And so I'm thinking, how can you not like the spring? But I realize if I had the allergies, I would not like the spring either. But you know what time of year he loves? The fall and the winter time. He likes to cuddle up and be all nice, and there's no allergies happening at that time of the year for him. And he can wait a lot longer for the allergies. It's way down there. So circumstances. How about traffic? Anybody love traffic? Does everybody hate traffic? Actually, you don't. I'm going to give you an example of when you don't hate traffic. It's a circumstantial thing. We hate traffic when we're trying to get somewhere and it's slowing us down. But have you ever been in the car with somebody maybe you're attracted to, and you know they're taking you home or you're taking them home, and you get stuck in traffic? Oh, darn it. We're not going to get there now, and I'm going to have to wait longer and spend more time with this person I like. So it's not the traffic, it's what you think about the traffic. And we'll get to that later. But politics can also be something circumstantial that we don't like. You know, one side likes this thing and another side likes that, and then they hate the opposite too. So those are circumstantial things. But then we also have, and this is the one that most of my clients do not realize is even a factor. Do you know that we all have triggers and stressors and activating events that come from inside? I don't know if you guys know, has anybody ever read Winnie the Pooh? Winnie the Pooh has 4 main characters in there that they all have very different personalities. Have you noticed? What kind of personality does Eeyore have? What is he typically? Is he depressed? Seemingly depressed most of the time? But then you also have Tigger. What's Tigger's personality, or what is his default personality? He's bouncing off the walls all over the place, super excited, happy. You can't slow him down, right? And then you have, other characters like Pooh and Piglet, and actually there's like Kanga and Roo and all those too. But all of those characters are a nice personification of some of the emotions that we often experience. And certain people in your life are more like the Tiggers, and some people in your life are more like the Poohs, and some of the people in your life are more like the Eeyores. And if they acted any other way, you'd be like, what is going on? What's wrong with you? If you had a Tigger in your life and they started acting like Eeyore, wouldn't you think something was wrong? Because all of us have certain default feelings and thoughts that we go to. Did you know that about yourself? There's certain thoughts that probably pop up in your mind. You know what I refer these to? As a playlist. Does anybody have a playlist? Yeah. Certain songs that play on your playlist, and you put them in there and you program them, and you know the next song that's going to pop up. Do you know sometimes our thoughts and our feelings are like that too? We can have several difficult days, have a good day. And do you know what sometimes my clients will tell me? Oh, it's a good day, so tomorrow's going to be horrible. I'm like, you should enjoy today, shouldn't you? What are they suggesting? That they're more like maybe an Eeyore or something like that, right? And so they default to the negative. And these playlists, they often keep us cycling through certain thoughts and feelings, even if nothing else outside of us in terms of the people and the circumstances, those haven't changed. Why do I keep having these thoughts though, even when everybody else seems normal? They're not triggering me, the circumstances outside of me aren't changing, but I keep going back to these thoughts and these feelings. So it's not just the things outside of us that affect us, it's the things inside of us that affect us too, and specifically those thoughts and feelings. But when we have these, this is when when we say activating event, what it's activating is a belief. And every single one of us has certain beliefs that we resort to. I'll just give you an example. If somebody does something nice for me, do you know one of my beliefs is to say thank you? Some of you have the same belief. Do you not? Do you have the same belief? Do you know not everybody has the same belief? Yeah. I have a sister, and I have sent gifts to her before, cards, all kinds of things. And I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and I'm like, I wonder if she got it. And so I call, and I say, hey, did you get the card, or did you get the gift I sent? And she goes, oh yeah, we got that like a week ago. And I'm like, oh, okay, well that's nice, I'm glad you got it. But I have to call to make sure she got it, because for some reason she doesn't think that that's the most important thing to do, or she's distracted and it's not a priority. So we all don't have the same beliefs, but it goes even deeper. Now remember, we have triggers and stressors instead of activating events, or another word for that. Do you know all of these could also be other words for our beliefs? So when something happens, whether it's a person or a circumstance over here, or our feelings and our thoughts, every single one of us will have a belief about those things. And here's the kicker. We all don't have the same belief about those things. Do you know not every single one of your siblings thinks the same thing about your mom? Have you noticed that? Not every single employee you work with thinks the same way about your boss. Not everybody in your life thinks the same way about traffic or politics or the weather. This is why, because we all choose different beliefs about the things that are happening to us. But this is the best part, because if I don't recognize that this is a choice, do you know what I'm going through my life acting as? A victim. A lot of us feel like we're victims because we don't realize we actually are the ones who are choosing what we're thinking, what we're believing, we're telling ourselves, the interpretation of events, the way we judge different things that are going on in our lives, our perspective, the meaning we give things. Every single one of us does this all day, every day, for everything that's happening. How big of a weight is that to think about that? Every single one of us is choosing certain thoughts. We don't necessarily realize it, but we are choosing how to believe about those people in our lives, the circumstances that are taking place. And I've given you a sheet that has a list of common self-defeating beliefs on there. So if you go through that, I am guessing that most of you, if not all of you, will find at least one belief on there that you identify as having. If you identify as having that belief, something's going to happen. But I'm just going to give you an example. I didn't give the one that has the boss yelled at me, and this is the belief that the person came up with, I messed up again, I can't do anything right. But that could be a belief. But here's another one that you might be believing. I need to please others. I know a lot of people have that belief. I need to please other people. We have that for various reasons. Maybe our parents taught us that. Maybe, we watched people constantly try to do everything to make other people happy, right? So that might be a belief that we have. Well, if we have that belief, again, you can go through your sheet and find the belief that you might have. What happens? What's the consequence of that? If you notice my arrows, the activating event merely triggers a belief. But when you choose that belief, remember this is a choice. We don't often think of it as a choice, but it is a choice. When you choose that belief, you don't often get to choose what happens, but there are certain consequences that come with it. And there's two types of consequences on here: behaviors and emotions. And you should have a sheet that has behaviors and emotions on it. This is the behavior sheet. It looks like this: unsafe behaviors and substances. And then this is the emotions sheet. Does everybody have this one? Do you know why I'm giving you all of this? Because I want you to do this at home. I want you to learn this here, and then I want you to do this at home. Do you know how big of a blessing you will be to other people if you figure out your beliefs and you work through them and replace them? Well, that's the key, is because look at all of these behaviors we wind up doing. Now, self-harm, that looks pretty harsh. What do we usually think of when we think of self-harm? Suicide, physical stuff like that. Do you know self-harm can be staying up too late every night trying to make other people happy so you can't sleep? That can be self-harm. That can mean, I don't ever cook myself healthy meals because I'm constantly trying to do projects all the time to make other people happy, that I just have to pick up whatever is available at the store. Do you know that can be self-harm too? There's a lot of research that says the things that we put into our body affect the way we think too. So we want to be careful about that. How about this one? I put my favorite ones on here. They're not just my favorites, they're the most popular ones. How about rumination? Does everybody know what rumination is? Yeah. Okay, some people know what this is. Some people call it spiraling. Where do we get this word from, though? I saw a bunch of sheep. We landed in Amsterdam and took the train down here, and we saw lots of sheep. Sheep do this, goats do this, and cows do this. They chew their cud. So they chew their food, and then it goes down, and then what does it do right after? Comes back up, and they chew it and 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 chew it. Human beings, hopefully, are not doing that. But do you know what we do instead? We chew on it up here. It goes in and chew and chew and chew and chew and chew. Do you know there's another term too that goes with this? And this is when it comes out of your mouth. Don't worry, I'm not talking about vomiting. I'm talking about, have you ever met somebody who something happens to them and they cannot stop talking about it? Oh, do I have to hear this again? Maybe you do it. I hope not after tonight. But that's called perseveration. When you keep talking about it, that's perseveration. We don't want to ruminate and we don't want to perseverate. Substances. Substances aren't just drugs and alcohol. Do you know caffeine can actually reduce blood flow and oxygen to the brain by upwards of 30%? That's why you get a headache when you go off of it, because what happens? All that blood flow and oxygen starts pumping at 100% again. And that's a lot of pressure on the brain. So it doesn't feel so good. That's why it takes several days for your brain and your head to get used to that again. But it's not just that. What about food? Do you guys have the term comfort food here too? Yeah. Is it really comforting us long term? No. Oh, I have to open up my pants because I can't breathe anymore. Or I feel sick to my stomach. Why did I eat so much of that? Or it was a bag of chips and I wasn't even hungry, or whatever might be. But substances, dissociation. Do you know what the number one form of dissociation is? Does everybody know what dissociation is? It's detaching from the here and the now. Number one form of dissociation, your cell phone. As soon as you're bored, as soon as you're not doing anything, what do? Pull out your phone so you can dissociate, so you can extract yourself from the here and now and put yourself somewhere else. And by the way, all the algorithms and technology, the people who invent that stuff don't even let their kids use it because they know how addictive it is. And that's the reason. They want you to get sucked in, and then we just, whatever's going on in our lives. Lack of creative problem solving. Do you know a lot of us just give up when things are difficult? We don't even try to solve the problem. Do you know what solving a problem does for the brain? Dopamine hit. Natural dopamine hit. Your brain loves to do work, even when you don't like to do work. It's like eating vegetables. You don't like to eat them, but they're good for you, and they make you feel good when you eat them. Hyper-focusing. If I believe I need to please others, what am I going to be focusing on all the time? What does this person want? Is this person happy with me? Do they like what I did? Is this okay? Do they like that? Always focusing on what does everybody want from me, instead of what's the best thing for me? What's the best thing for them? That sort of thing. And then we often overcompensate. What happens? I'm constantly trying to make people happy with me. By the way, how well does that work? If it makes this person happy, sometimes it makes this person unhappy, and the vice versa. And so we're constantly trying to overcompensate. And then it leaves us feeling not just these emotions up here, but hopeless and worthless too. Why do we leave hopeless and worthless after we're trying to please people and all those behaviors? Because can you really please everyone? It's impossible. But the more you do it, the more it reinforces the belief. Do you know if you stop right here, you're just going to keep cycling through this? A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. And then your life will feel like, oh, what's wrong? Why is this happening to me all the time? When we realize that our emotions and behaviors are negative, it tells us what? Our beliefs are faulty. There's something wrong with what we're telling ourselves or what we're believing. So what do we have to do? The A through C is the problem, so the D and the E is the solution. So the D, we have to ask two major questions, but then I break those two questions down into 10. But I'm just going to focus on the two main ones. The first question is, if I believe something such as I need to please others, do you know how many people don't ever stop to say, hey, do I actually need to believe this? We just keep in the cycle going and going and going. But the first question we have to ask is this belief even true? Do you ever stop to ask yourself, is this even true? Do I need to please others? Maybe you do, but most people don't. How do we know if something is true? If you're a judge in a courtroom, if you're a scientist, how do you know if something is true? Evidence, yes. That is absolutely the best way to know if something is true. Evidence. Now there's 3 forms of evidence I want you to focus on. The first form of evidence is the evidence for something. Now, here's the thing. You can totally bypass this one. You know why? Because that's the only one you ever look at. If you believe I need to please others, what are you constantly reinforcing that belief with all day, every day? The evidence of why I have to please others. You're looking, oh, see, that person's not happy with me. I must not have pleased them. Or, oh, that person's upset. Maybe I need to do this for them to make them happy or to please them. But if you're a judge in a courtroom, do you only look at one side of the evidence? No. The answer is no. Not only does the judge have to look at the evidence for something, they also have to look at the evidence against. Do you ever ask your belief, what's the evidence against needing to please other people all the time or pleasing everyone? Do you ever ask that question? Now, one of the ways that you can do that is I gave you a sheet, this one, the cognitive distortion one. So I'm not going to go through each one of these, but these are all the cognitive distortions. Don't worry, you have a sheet on that. I want you to go through that sheet, whatever belief you have in this column, I want you to go through that sheet. I want you to ask yourself, are there any cognitive distortions in this belief? So, for example, I'm just going to go through maybe the first one. All or nothing thinking. What is all or nothing thinking? Will somebody read that for me off the sheet?
You see things in black and white categories. If your performance falls short of perfect, you see yourself as a total failure.
Okay, so that's just one example, but really all or nothing thinking is either all this way or all that way. So I'll give you an example. Say I take a test and I get a B+ on it. And I told myself I failed because I didn't get an A+. That would be all or nothing thinking. A lot of us do that. If we don't get 100% this, it's 100% that. By the way, what is a B+? Do you guys have the system here?
Yeah.
No?
It's
About
80%.
80%.
8 out of 10.
It's the high 80% is a B+. Okay, let's just say everything is graded out of 100. Okay? If I get a B+, and let's just say I'm going to go the lowest end of a B+, maybe an 86 or an 87 out of 100. And my teacher grades all of the homework assignments, all of the tests out of 100, and I'm shooting for, I want to get 100% on everything, and I didn't get 100%. I got an 86 or an 87. Let's say I got a 49%. Let's go all the way the other end. I got a 49%. In America, that would be a failing grade. Failing grade. Here's the thing, though. If I add that 49% to all of my other 100% or 90%, at the end of the semester, the quarter, or whatever, is that a 49%? No. Why? Because it averages out over all of them. Let's just say you take them all. We're not even going to weigh them differently, but you take them all and then you divide by the total number of tests or homework assignments, and you could get like a 89 or a 90 or something like that out of it. It could be even higher. Was that really a failing grade now that I got a 49% when now I'm still in the high 80s or 90s at the end of the semester? No. But what do we tell ourselves? I failed. And then what do we do after that? What's the behavior that comes with it? I give up, I stop trying, I beat myself up all day, I ruminate, I perseverate on it, and it makes it even harder to do that for the next time, right? But if I stuck with it and I said, hey, this wasn't my best grade, but I can still try, we would continue to do better after that. When we have these things happen, though, we have to ask, what's the evidence not just for, but what's the evidence against? I just gave you some evidence against, because that's all or nothing thinking, that I totally failed at this. How about I need to please others? Is that all or nothing thinking? Is there anybody you don't have to please? There's somebody you don't have to please. What would happen if you pleased every single person? Aren't there some evil people in the world? Do you want to please those people? What might you have to do to please that person? some evil things, right? So that might be some evidence against I need to please everyone, because I just realized that's all or nothing thinking. Now, you can do this with the rest of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. But another question we have to ask in terms of evidence, and this is the one not very many people even think of, not just the evidence for, not just the evidence against, but do I even have enough evidence? What happens in a courtroom if the judge or the jury doesn't have enough evidence? They dismiss the case. Why? You can't make a decision if you don't have enough evidence. What if your belief is nobody likes me? Do you have enough evidence? Not a single person in this room has enough evidence to know that. You know how I know that?
Yeah.
How many people are in the world?
Yeah.
Roughly 8 billion people. Do you even know all 8 billion people? So how can you know if they don't like you? Right? Here's another one. Say you know everybody in the world. And you go, well, everybody said they didn't like me. I had a kid in the group home who told me he did not like me. He hated me for 9 months straight. Didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to see me. A month before I left, because I moved on and now I'm at the job that I'm at, a month before I left, I told all the kids in the group home, hey, I'm going to be leaving. I just want you to know in advance so we can, help you transition to the next therapist, or if you leave, that too. This kid who told me he hated me, who did not want to see me and told me to my face that he didn't want to see me, all of a sudden, hey, can I come see you, Amanda? I was like, is this a joke? What is going on? Why are you treating me this way? I didn't say that. I didn't want to look like I was, insecure about it. But I was like, what is going on? This kid has day in and day out told me how much he hated me. And for the whole month, every single day I was at work, he asked me multiple times, can I come and talk with you?
But isn't hating a form of, people who cannot express love, maybe they use that kind of system?
You're absolutely right. Some people say things and it's a reflection of them. Yeah. It's not a reflection of you. So whatever they're saying, so how can we even know if people don't like me, even when they say they don't like me? Right? Therefore, do I have enough evidence to know everybody doesn't like me? I'd have to get inside their head. I'd have to understand them from the heart to the brain to every part of them to even know if it was true. Does it really matter then? No. I've learned that what people say about me says a lot more about them than it does about me, in most cases. So those are the 3 types of evidence. What was the first one that we don't have to really look for because we're the evidence for? This should be the easy one. Not enough evidence. Not enough evidence. That's the first question we have to ask. The second question is it helpful? Do you know there are a lot of things that are true, but they're not helpful? Say you lost your job. How helpful is it to remind yourself every single day, I lost my job, I lost my job, I lost my job, I lost my job? What happens when you're hyper-focusing on something, even if it's true? You can't focus on anything else. What would be really important if you lost your job? Find another one. Ask some questions. Hey, do you think I have some issues with, work or something like that? Start growing from that situation. Look for a job, find an area where you need to grow and get better, but just telling yourself all day, every day, something that's true is not necessarily helpful. So what we want to ask ourselves when we ask that question is this keeping me stuck or is it allowing me to move forward in my life? If you can't answer honestly to both of those questions, is it true and is it helpful, then what should you do? The last thing is reframe it. Does anybody do construction work? Okay. At home? Okay, well you might know this anyway. How important is framing a building? It's very important. And specifically the reason it's important is because if you do poor framing, what is the framing, by the way? It's the walls, it's the structure essentially. of the building. If you get the framing wrong, do you know how much work you have to do after that to get everything right? You have to use all these, I don't know if you call them here, shims. They're little spacer kind of pieces to make sure things are right if it's not equal or level and that sort of thing. This is the same way with our thinking. If our thinking is poorly framed, we have to reframe our thinking. So you have to change it. So you have to turn it into something that is both true and helpful. And when you do this, I'm going to give you an example of this one. How about this one? Remember, what was the original belief? I need to please others. Here's my new belief. And by the way, your belief doesn't have to sound exactly like this, but as long as it has some of these qualities. How about instead of I need to please others, how about pleasing others is often more about trying to make people like me than it is about actually pleasing others. Did you know that? When I'm trying to please others, I'm wanting them to like me. If I wanted my niece to like me, do you know what I would have to do? If I wanted her to like me all the time, I'd have to feed her chocolate chip pancakes for every single meal with whipped cream and then more chocolate in between those. Would I actually be pleasing her long term? That would be only short term pleasing her. It wouldn't be pleasing her long term. So pleasing others is often more about trying to make people like me. It would be about me trying to make my niece like me than it is about actually pleasing others. Sometimes truly pleasing others is about telling the truth in love, looking out for their long-term happiness, and first and foremost, this is mine, I need to please God. What do you think of that belief instead of I need to please others? And that's just my part at the end, but how about even up to this point? Yeah. How about everything from here up? What do you think of that? Do you still think we need to please others all the time? No. So, this might be a better belief than that one. Because this one doesn't take anything into consideration except trying to please the person all the time, even just in the short term. So, what happens then? What does the E stand for? Effective change or outcome. So, if I believe something more like this, then what happens? Instead of all of those behaviors, are these helpful behaviors? Are they good behaviors to have in your life? No. I didn't think so. I'm going to have fewer of those behaviors and more positive behaviors. I'm not going to be self-harming, ruminating, doing substances, dissociating, giving up, hyper-focusing, and trying to overcompensate all the time. But here's the other thing. I'm also going to have fewer negative emotions, like over there, and I'm going to have more positive emotions. And again, this is just my belief. You can change the belief to be both true and helpful in a way that works for you. You don't have to have my belief. I'm not telling you the belief to have. I'm asking you to look at the evidence and make a new belief based on what is true evidence and what is helpful. It doesn't keep you stuck. It allows you to move forward. Then you'll have these. Here's the cool thing. Now, these over here, we don't often have control over these things. Do I have control over what people say and do? No, unless they're maybe your kid for the first 3 months of their life. Circumstances, do I have any control over the weather? Do I have any control over, politics and everything that's going on around me? I don't have a lot of control over that. But when I have fewer negative behaviors and fewer negative emotions and more positive behaviors and more positive emotions, what happens? Do you think when I'm acting differently, the people in my life are going to respond differently to me? Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. How about the circumstances? Those even might change a little bit because I'm different too. But especially these parts down here. One of my favorite quotes is, "The plant that you water is the plant that grows." I'm not watering the old feelings anymore by perseverating and thinking the old beliefs that I've thought before. I'm not doing all those old thoughts. I'm not even the same person. My default has changed. Did you know you can change the default on things? Have you ever changed the defaults on your phone? Computer? You know, you can change the defaults on you too. Isn't that pretty cool? You don't have to be the same person. I'm an example of that. I used to have terrible anxiety when I grew up. Terrible anxiety. I don't struggle with that anymore. I'm a human, so I do have anxiety. By the way, it doesn't take away all your emotions just because you learn these skills. But you're going to have new feelings and new thoughts, which means your default is going to be different now. Isn't that cool? So I want to just leave you with a thought. Remember we talked about diamonds and gold? I want you to consider that when you have certain thoughts go through your mind. Do you want the real diamonds and the real gold, or do you want the fakes and the stuff that holds you back and doesn't help you? I hope this is really helpful. If I can challenge you with one thing before we end, if you can spend 30 minutes a day just being mindful of some of the thoughts that you have that might be holding you back, that might be leading to negative behaviors and emotions, and you can start to just tweak some of those thoughts and those beliefs, at the end of 3 weeks, you won't have to look at these papers so much anymore. You will actually start to think differently on your own. Now, it might be the really big situations that come up that you really have to work at, but if you spend 30 minutes a day for 3 weeks, it'll start to change the way that you think about the way you're thinking. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.